years in his country, France, and Europe more generally.
The Genius of Judaism is his eloquent new book.
I wanted to hear his take on what was happening in America. I do want to note, Bernard talks about something called BDS, which might not be familiar to all of you. It stands for Boycott, Divestment, Sanctions. It's the rallying cry for those, usually on the left, who want to use those tactics to punish and put pressure on Israel for its occupation of what they see as Palestinian lands.
Bernard-Henri Levy, pleasure.
Thank you.
You talk about the rise of anti-Semitism in America.
Yeah.
I have frankly been surprised by it. Tell me how you see it. Why and how has it risen?
I saw in America, I'm sorry to say that as a foreigner, but please accept my witness as the witness of a friend of this country. Two examples, on the left and on the right. On the right, a lot of things which has been said and liberated during the last campaign. Not necessarily by the president, except that when he recalls the Jewish name of one of your colleagues, Jon Stewart, it is not far, this way of unmasking a man by revealing the Jewish name.
This is what we did with the
Jon
Stewart of The Daily Show, and he said,
Daily Show.
why don't you talk about your real name?
Why don't you speak about your real name? After that he said, why don't you take pride of your Jewish roots, and so on. But not only that, around him, among his voters or a part of his voters, there was something like a return of the repressed. On the left side, the campaign, the world campaign called BDS. And I want to say to the sincere followers of this BDS campaign, I want to tell them from the bottom of my heart, because I'm not sure they know it, this is an anti-Semite campaign. This BDS campaign takes its roots long time ago, 60 years ago, in the fringes of the dying Nazism. The first time when boycott was recommended against Israel, occupied territories of Israel, was by Nazis escaping Germany, taking shelter in Iraq or in Syria, and building this campaign of BDS. So BDS exists in France, exists all over the world, but has so much strength also on the west coast of America. So this is to say that this tide of anti-Semitism, alas, is not reserved to my country. I would love to, because in my country I know more or less how to fight it. It is much more worldwide.
What would you say to somebody who says, look, I don't think of myself as an anti-Semite, I don't have any such feelings, but I don't like what Israel does in the occupied territories, I don't like the occupation, I don't like Israel's persistent persecution of Palestinians. I ask you this because I know that you yourself have often spoken eloquently in favor of a two-state solution.
Yes. To say this woman or man telling me that he or she does not like the policy of the state of Israel, this means democracy. This means normal political quarrel. And you have inside Israel a lot of brave female and male militants who say that. No point. But I would ask to the person you are alluding to, do you think that there is space in the Middle East for a Jewish state or not? But the question is, do we demonize? Do we delegitimize? Do we stigmatize Israel as such?
Do you think that this explosion of anti-Semitism, is it a flare-up that you think will die, or is it the sign of a new and worrying trend?
It is the sign of a trend, and the real hope is not that it will vanish. The real hope is that the decent democracy will find a way to contain it. The real problem with racism in general is not to eradicate, is to contain, is to resist, is to oppose. And the great democracies like America, like France, are mature enough to build these walls. And this is one of the messages which I try to convey in the Genius of Judaism. What are the walls? What are the ways of containment? The Jews in the world are strong. Strong with values, strong because of their memory, strong because their habit of study. This gives an incredible strength, which is stronger than the anti-Semites. And I often say, in my country, there is a debate to know if the Jews have to leave France or not. My reply is always to say that those who have to leave are not the Jews. The Jews took such a part to the building of France. They built its political system, its language. Those who have to leave are the anti-Semites, who want nothing except rebuild and destroy this country. They will leave before I leave, for sure.
Bernard-Henri Lévy, pleasure to have you on.
Thank you very much.